Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot for the invitation. That's actually indeed for me a great pleasure to be here. I recently actually joined DG Connect literally 6 weeks ago, and I think I had a chance to work with some of you before when I was in the part of the Commission responsible for fight against organized crime, where we have, from that side, actually we're developing joint efforts, especially in connection to cybercrime. It's just 10 minutes, so I will not actually, I will probably spare the general narrative that we all know very well about obviously, you know, the fact that while we are, when we speak about the cybersecurity, we inadvertently go to the sort of the bad side of the story. You know, we are talking about problems, we are talking about bad guys, but obviously, you know, internet remains profoundly the force for good things. And exactly because of that, the stakes and the question of retaining security and safety of internet, and most profoundly, what is related to that, the trust of businesses and citizens to use internet for all sorts of needs. That's why, you know, the stakes are so high today. So as you all know, probably, I mean, I think after some years, finally we had last year an attempt to put forward a sort of a comprehensive vision at a European level of how we should address the issues of cybersecurity. And I think what is very important, that the discourse on the narrative of European Union on security very much started with the principles and values that we are espousing, and again from that we basically set out our view how we can actually address cybersecurity risks and threats. The NIS directive, on which I would like to focus, was indeed, sorry, it's not very obedient, but okay. Was indeed the main element of, or one of the main elements of the strategy. I think it really stemmed from the fact that over the last decade, over the last 15 years, in terms of cybersecurity, for most part, I would say we had a sort of organic development. We basically had different measures taken by public authorities, by businesses, which were basically quite logical and natural to protect their operations. But what we have seen as a result was that the level of capabilities have developed very unevenly for, you know, in a way understandable reasons. You know, the question of, I would say, of overall standing of and differences among member states in terms of the state of you know, of development. So in a way, following, I would say, 10 years of different soft law measures, I mean, the Commission came to the conclusion that indeed we actually need to take a further steps through regulation, and that was basically the essence why we actually came up with this directive. So in a way, the directive brings nothing new to a number of member states who are quite advanced, while indeed it provides, I would say, very strong encouragement for those countries that are less advanced. And here you see the main elements of what the directive provides for. So first of all, anyway, pretty obvious, you know, the requirement for all member states to have network and information security strategies and cooperation plans, to designation of competent authorities, and designation of certs. When we were basically carrying out impact assessment back in 2012, I mean, still a number of member states did not even have certs at the national level. So what seems obvious, I mean, was not so obvious, and obviously also when we speak about certs and national certs, again, the level of capabilities are quite different. Okay. Now, here I want to present further key elements of the directive. And by the way, also something that is very much subject of the discussions, as you see from, for example, recently the report of the European Parliament, the requirements of national competent authorities to cooperate at EU level And again, it's not so easy because, again, the difference of capability, there are gaps in terms of capabilities, and obviously the question of trust, which is so essential when it comes to sharing sensitive information, again, is not necessarily evenly spread among the 28. So in a way, we have to go hand in hand in terms of raising the capabilities, raising the expertise that is within competent authorities, within certain member states, and their willingness to cooperate and share in terms of early warnings, in terms of also carrying out coordinated response, which again, for a number of cyber incidents, is very crucial. Some elements of the directive also refer to the question, for example, of the EU-wide exercises, cybersecurity exercises, and also the role for ENISA, the cybersecurity agency that is in Crete, to actually support member states' efforts in this regard. And then, again, the provisions of the directive that are, in a way, very crucial, that build also on what has been in the past developed for the traditional telecom sector, relate to the obligations concerning risk management and incident reporting. And again, the approach, which very much follows the idea of a minimum harmonization, was that we don't want, obviously, to impose costs across all sectors of economy, across all types of market operators and public market operators primarily, but we really intended to focus on those parts of, let's say, our society, our economy, which are critical for the functioning of the infrastructure. So these are the categories of operators that would be covered, according to our proposal, by the risk management and incident reporting obligations. Again, as you know, possibly from the recent report of the Parliament, not all of this is, let's say, uncontroversial. We have quite big discussions whether internet enablers should be covered, whether public administration should be covered. Again, we strongly feel that this should be sort of a forward-looking instrument, and that's why, there are very actually good reasons to also reach out to this type of operators. Anyway, I'm happy to follow this up more in the discussion. Okay, so this is where we are now with the process. In a way, we have almost a year of negotiation behind us, but still, I mean, we haven't really reached the stage when we can say, that we have the sort of final shape of the compromise package. We are expecting a vote very soon, next week in the European Parliament. But it's clear that the directive will be agreed, and this is, in a way, our objective, not in this Parliament but in the next Parliament. And anyway, we are going to work toward this objective. This was what actually Vice President Cruz said at a conference on Friday, that this indeed was one of key pillars of the cybersecurity strategy on which we want to deliver at the end of this year. Yes, I also want to mention NIS public-private platform, because obviously, and this is in a way a wider issue, legislation on its own. Legislation on its own is not going to deliver a magic solution. For us, an establishment on NIS platform, and there are specific 3 working groups. One works on risk management, another one on incident reporting and information sharing, and third on research for cybersecurity purposes. It's for us basically an attempt to basically couple legislative approach with a very sort of serious long-term engagement with private sector and member states on basically how different standards and norms, and also how in future implementation of the directive could look like. That's also a very important interplay, that our intention was to make sure that the directive is sufficiently technologically neutral, so there would be a number of delegated acts adopted by the Commission. And I think this is an excellent form of a dialogue where, again, the technical expertise, the ideas, the solutions may come, how, and they can then de facto influence the process of implementation of the directive. Yes, I think I would stop here, so we really have time for discussion. So thank you very much. And anyway, we are looking forward to dialogue on this and a swift adoption of the directive this year.